Alright guys, what I wanted to do on this quick code demonstration is something we have yet to talk about. However, I have seen it quite a bit over the years. And this is concept of the display property and some of its values. And so, here we've got this paragraph, and we've learned that we can select the paragraph and change its display. One thing that's pretty commonly used is literally display none, can hide content. And so, how can that be used? Well, making content dynamically show and dynamically hide. And so when we get into different things, we'll learn like, hey, we have this hover effect, and when we hover something, we can make something show up or hide. But okay, display none is something we learned that we can change a block to display inline. And so what does that really do? But no longer causes a line break. And so we kind of learned the box model, and we learned that inline elements kind of just are as wide as the content and they're as tall as the content, and you cannot set a width and a height to something that's inline. However, you can set a width and a height to something that's block. And so through this display, we can change things to display inline and display block. And so these are things that we've seen before. However, somewhere along the line, I don't know when they kind of came out with this, they got this fun one called display inline block. That's kind of a hybrid of the two. Your content will only be as wide as the content that it's in. So it does not cause a line break. Its default is to kind of, let me save and refresh. You could see it's very much like an inline. It's not wide. So both of my paragraphs are display inline block, right? So they're displaying inline. You can see I've got the word another. Both of these paragraphs are displaying on the same line. However, what's a little bit differently, so they're very much like a display inline, but however they're a hybrid, and how so, is that you could set a width. Now, something like that sets a width of 50%. You might be saying, well, why is that doing a line break? And if we change this down to 49% something, now you get them on the same line. We would have to change some of the padding or some of
But it's only doing that the body, right? Because you haven't had any other CSS.
Yeah, so I don't have any other CSS. So that body is taking up some pixels with margin. So I'd need to zero that out. Margin 0, this is what I said. Use a reset instead of doing this. Use normalize instead of doing this. Okay, so now our content's going all the way to the edge. And now I think I can change this to 50%. No, it's still buttoned up. That's not the important part here. The important part is that INLINE-Block is a hybrid between an inline element, because elements are going to be inline. They are not causing line breaks anymore, just like an inline element. However, you could set a width and a height very much like a block level element. And so the next kind of question is, okay, how do you really use this? Like, where is this actually useful? And the common answer to that, oh, I'm not sharing my screen from Discord. My bad, Discord. It'll be in the recording, so if you need to go back and see some of the code, my bad. But basically, I've just changed this display to inline block. and put a width on these paragraphs, and you could see now that like the output of this is these two paragraphs are on the same line, thus the inline, and they have a width applied to them of, I set them to 49% so that they're not butting up next to one another, and to show you that the width is in fact working. There's the width of one paragraph, there's the width of the next. And there's still some space on the right edge of my screen that I'd need to take care of. See that? See how that is not, that's probably the cause. Now where is that coming from is kind of my question. And sometimes we'll just call it a ghost space, because I'm not quite sure how to fill up that space right now off the top of my head. Anyways, not the important part. Display inline block, how is it useful? Get back to how is it useful? Well, I think the most common answer, although there are more use cases for it, would be on something like some links. And so we'll set a nav with 5 anchor tags and format these, and let's try and do this a little bit more efficiently with the mouse cursor, holding Alt and typing in links and then formatting it. Okay, so we've got some links, and we know that links are inline, and so that we know that if we were to style these links, we would do things like a:"link, a:"visited, hover, focus. So these are a way to like basically take all the states of your links. Remember, these are called pseudo selectors. And let's say text decoration none, just to make sure this is all playing nice. Okay, so we just remove the underline on our links. Let's set the width though, just to show you that we can set a width of 96 pixels, and of course links are inline elements, so we cannot set a width on our, and also if we were to put a border on them, that's kind of what they look like. So a lot of times the links by themselves are kind of dull, and so what the common answer to this question is, where do we see inline block being used, is you want to format your links as buttons. And so to kind of make your links a little bit more, buttons as in, clickable buttons. So if I were to do that, I might do a background color of green. And because this width isn't really working, I would just say display inline block, and now you can see they're starting to form. And so let's add some padding of I don't know, 20 pixels all the way around. And okay, our links text align center. Okay, now we're starting to look like, and text color of white. Okay, it takes our nav bar links and makes them look like buttons. And so that's one common place where you see that being used. I mentioned earlier today my reliance on CSStricks.com. I'm going to share an article with everybody in the Discord, basically talking about scenarios when to use inline block. And you can see there, the common answer is buttons, so you're taking your links and changing them into buttons. There's more answers here. Obviously, this article goes on, so I'll let you read this in your free time. But wanted to make a quick one on InlineBlock, how it works, kind of a hybrid between displaying inline and displaying block.
On the homepage for the CSS tricks, they did something where it was like cards, and then when you hovered over them, I guess they came to the front or focused.
Yeah.
That, I guess, something you'd be able to do something like that.
Yeah. The question is, hey, on the homepage we've got this. Really, it's an animation.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So this is the effect that you were talking about, and I want to say chapter like 14 deals with animations, and so this is a pretty fancy looking animation. I'm sure it's quite a bit of CSS, but that's with CSS you can do animations, transitions, and those kinds of things. All right.